my videos. This one is for CON, testing solutions to equations. On this one, there's a couple different types of things that they ask you to do. We'll be looking at both those, and you'll be using order of operations and substitution to test solutions. So let's take a look at the first thing you'll be looking at here. On the first one, first type of problem, you'll be given something such as, in this case, select all equations that are where x equals 3. So where x equals 3 is a solution. So you're going to try x equals 3 in all of these and see which ones it works in. So that's what you're going to do. So, and you'll see right here, as you notice, it says choose two answers. Some of these are going to say choose two answers, and some of them might even say choose all that apply. So make sure you read this carefully and select the appropriate number of answers. So what we're going to do is look at this first one. So we'll just make our substitution here. So we have x plus 4 equals 7. We're going to make our substitution. Since x is 3, we're going to end up with 3 plus 4. And then we want to know, does that equal 7? And as we do our calculations, we end up with 7 equals 7. So that one is a true statement. So that one is one of the ones we would select. So there's one of ours that we choose. And then we go in and we try our next one. We'll make our substitution into this one. So we have 3 over 9. So 3 divided by 9, does that equal 3? Now, 3 over 9, that doesn't necessarily divide out nicely, but we can leave it as a fraction and reduce that down to the fraction of 1/3. And does 1/3 equal 3? That one's not a true statement, so that one is not one. So that's not one we would pick. And then we would keep working our way down until we find the other ones that work. And that's what you do on this one, where you're given an x value and asked to find the equations that work. The other problems you'll be working at will be in this manner, where you will be given an equation, and then they will give you some values that you need to see if they are true. So in this case, you'll be making the substitution into your equation. So let's go ahead and try this first one. I'm only going to try one of these. So we just write out our equation. We have 7 plus, and I'm going to substitute in our 4 for our first one. So where x equals 4, so we have 7 plus 5 times, and instead of x, I'm going to put 4 minus 3. Close our parentheses out, and does that equal 22? So we need to do our calculations and see. So we can't do anything with this addition because we have to follow our order of operations, which means we need to do in the parentheses first. So our 7 just drops down, plus 5, and now we need to work inside of our parentheses because that's our first thing we do in order of operations. So we do the 4 minus 3, which would give us 1. And then we're going to still see, I'm just going to bring down my 22 here, because we still want to answer that question, does that equal 22? Now we have 5, and our parentheses means multiplication, so that's the next thing we need to do. So we're just going to drop down our 7 plus 5 times 1, which would just give us 5. Does that equal 22? We're still asking ourselves that question. In this case, we have 7 plus 5, which would give us 12. And that does not equal 22. So we don't have a true statement there. So that is not equal to 22. So that one is not a solution. So we would move on and try our next value by making the substitution of 5 until we find, and notice this one just says choose one answer. So you work down and find the one that works. I always like to check them all just in case I find one that works. And if I make a mistake and it just says choose one answer, then I know that I've made a mistake if I find more than one that works. So then I can go back and recheck my math. And that way I make sure I can get the correct answer. So go ahead and continue on with these. When you get to this type of problem, you just make the substitutions and find out which one that works. There is one more on here I wanted to look at, and it is one like this. I just wanted to point out the idea that in this case, if you have a fraction bar is a grouping symbol like parentheses. So you need to do that operation first on top. And we're just going to try substituting in the h equals 1 here. So we would end up with 8 plus 1 over 10. And we want to know, does that equal 1? And so we got to do the work on top of the fraction bar first. So we had 8 plus 1. We can do that first. That would give us 9 divided by 10, and we can tell right there that that does not equal 1. So that is not our solution to the equation. So we can stop right there because that is not equal. In order for it to be equal, we'd have to have 10 on top. So that is what you're going to have to do with these. I just wanted to point out the idea that this fraction bar, we have to do everything on top of it first. So whenever you're running those fraction bars, that's what you need to do. So when you're working on these, remember that, and also remember when you're working on this con to make sure you're logged in so that you can get all of the credit for them. Always make sure you're logged in before you start working on these. Good luck. Thanks.